Emily Carter's hands shook as she typed the most desperate text of her life to a number she didn't recognize. Please help me. Outside her dorm room door, men were testing the lock. Inside, she was alone, cornered, and out of options. The scholarship director who controlled her future had smiled while threatening her for months. Now his threats had teeth. She expected silence. Instead, a stranger's reply lit up her screen with cold authority. Lock the bathroom door. Wedge the chair under the handle. Stay on the phone with me. Help is coming. That single text would unravel secrets her late mother had buried for 20 years and reveal a truth that would change everything. If you're hooked, stay with me until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Emily's story reaches. The fluorescent light in Emily Carter's dorm room buzzed with the kind of relentless hum that made sleep impossible even on good nights. Tonight wasn't a good night. Tonight, Emily sat cross-legged on her narrow bed, staring at the stack of financial aid forms spread across her comforter like accusations. Each one carried Ryan Whitmore's signature at the bottom. Neat, controlled, professional. Each one reminded her that he owned her future. She was 19 years old, a college freshman at Harrison State University, and she was drowning. Her phone sat beside her, screen dark. She'd been staring at it for the better part of an hour, trying to decide if she had the courage to do what needed to be done. Her mother had died 6 months ago. Cancer, swift and merciless, had taken the only person who'd ever fought for Emily. Now Emily was alone in a cramped dorm room 3 states away from the town where she'd grown up, trying to survive on a scholarship that Ryan Whitmore controlled with a smile that never reached his eyes. The knock on her door made her jump. "Emily?" Ryan's voice was smooth, pleasant. "I saw your light on. Can we talk for a minute?" Her stomach twisted. It was nearly midnight. Ryan Whitmore didn't make social calls at midnight. She didn't answer. "Emily, I know you're in there." His tone shifted, losing some of its polish. "We need to discuss your midterm performance. I'm concerned about your eligibility." Eligibility. The word he'd been using like a weapon for months now. Emily had a 3.7 GPA. Her eligibility wasn't in question. But Ryan didn't care about facts. He cared about control. She stayed silent, barely breathing. After a long moment, she heard his footsteps retreat down the hallway. Emily waited until the sound faded completely before exhaling. Her hands were shaking. This couldn't continue. She knew that. But what choice did she have? Ryan controlled her scholarship, her housing, her entire academic future. One signature from him could erase everything her mother had sacrificed to give her. Emily picked up her phone and scrolled through her contacts. There was no one to call. Her high school friends had scattered to different colleges, different lives. She'd been too busy caring for her dying mother to maintain those connections. Her father, if he'd ever existed beyond a name her mother refused to speak, was a ghost. She opened her mother's contact card instead. Sarah Carter. The photo showed her mom smiling at the beach 3 years ago, before the diagnosis, before everything fell apart. Emily hadn't been able to delete the contact, couldn't bring herself to erase that digital echo. She scrolled through the numbers her mother had saved. Most were medical offices, now irrelevant. A few were old coworkers. And then Emily saw it. A number saved under a single symbol. A star. No name. No label. Just a star. Emily frowned. She'd never noticed it before. Her mother had been meticulous about labeling contacts. This didn't fit her system. Before Emily could stop herself, she tapped the number. Her thumb hovered over the call button, then moved to the message icon instead. She didn't know what she was doing, didn't know who this number belonged to or why her mother had saved it. But something about it felt intentional. Her mother had saved this number for a reason. Emily's fingers moved across the screen. "Please help me." She hit send before she could reconsider. The message showed as delivered. Emily stared at it, feeling foolish. What was she expecting? That some stranger her mother had known would somehow fix her life? That a random number saved under a star would produce a miracle? She set the phone down and pressed her palms against her eyes. Stupid. She was being stupid. Her phone vibrated. Emily's eyes snapped open. The screen showed a new message from the star contact. "Who is this?" Her heart hammered. Someone had answered. She typed quickly. "Emily Carter." This number was in my mother's phone. Sarah Carter. I don't know if you knew her. I'm sorry to bother you. The response came faster this time. Where are you? Emily hesitated. Every instinct told her not to answer, not to give her location to a stranger. But something in the directness of that question cut through her fear. Harrison State University, dorm room. Are you safe? The question landed like a punch. Emily's throat tightened. I don't know, she typed. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. When the message came through, it was longer. Tell me what's happening. Everything. Start from the beginning. Emily's vision blurred. She wiped her eyes roughly and started typing. She told the stranger everything. About Ryan Whitmore and his polished threats. About the scholarship he controlled and the pressure he applied whenever she was alone. About the forms he made her sign and the meetings he scheduled in empty offices. About the way he smiled when he reminded her that she had no one to complain to. No one who would believe her over a respected university administrator with 15 years of spotless service. She told the stranger about her mother's death and the isolation that followed. About the crushing weight of being completely alone with no safety net and no way out. When she finished, her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. The response came after a long pause. You're not alone anymore. What's this man's full name? Ryan Whitmore. He's the director of student financial services. Has he hurt you physically? No, just pressure. Threats about my scholarship. He corners me, makes me feel trapped. Do you have somewhere else you can stay tonight? No, lock your door, don't open it for anyone. I'm making some calls. Emily stared at the message. I'm making some calls. As if this stranger, whoever they were, had the power to do something about Ryan Whitmore. As if anything could be done. But she locked her door anyway. 20 minutes later, her phone rang. The star contact. Emily answered without thinking. Hello? The voice that came through was male, deep, and carried an edge of controlled authority that made her sit up straighter. Emily Carter. Yes? My name is Vincent. I knew your mother a long time ago. You're going to tell me everything that's happened, and I'm going to fix it. But right now I need you to listen carefully. Do you understand? Yes. Is your door locked? Yes. Windows? Emily glanced at the window, 3rd floor. They don't open more than a few inches. Fire code. Good. I'm sending someone to watch your building tonight. You're not going to see them, but they'll be there. If Ryan Whitmore comes near your room, I'll know. How? Don't ask questions you don't need answered. Just trust that you're safe now. Tomorrow, we'll deal with Whitmore. Tonight, you sleep. Emily's throat felt tight. Why are you helping me? There was a long silence. When Vincent spoke again, his voice was quieter. Because Sarah saved that number for a reason. And because no one should feel the way you're feeling right now. Get some rest, Emily. He hung up before she could respond. Emily sat in the buzzing silence of her room, phone clutched in her hand, and felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. She didn't sleep well that night, but she slept. And when morning came, Ryan Whitmore didn't knock on her door. The next day passed in a strange fog. Emily went to her classes, took notes, tried to focus. But her mind kept circling back to the phone call, to Vincent's voice, to the promise of help from a stranger who'd known her mother. Ryan didn't approach her, didn't send emails, didn't materialize in the hallway with his pleasant smile and veiled threats. His absence was more unnerving than his presence. That evening, Emily's phone buzzed with a text. How are you holding up? She recognized the number. Vincent. Okay. He stayed away today. He'll stay away. I've made that clear. How? I have resources, and I know things about Ryan Whitmore that he'd prefer stayed buried. Emily's pulse quickened. What kind of things? Nothing you need to worry about, but I want you to do something for me. What? Tell me about your mother. The request caught her off guard. Emily sat on her bed, staring at the message. Tell him about her mother? Why? What do you want to know? Whatever you want to tell me. I knew her when we were young, before you were born. I'd like to know who she became. Emily's eyes stung. She started typing. She was strong, stronger than anyone I've ever known. She raised me alone, never complained, worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. When she got sick, she still tried to take care of me. Even at the end, She loved you very much. How do you know? Because she saved my number, just in case. Just in case what? Vincent didn't answer right away. When he did, his response was careful. Just in case you ever needed someone she trusted. Emily's chest tightened. Did she tell you about me? No. I haven't spoken to Sarah in almost 20 years, but I'm not surprised she had a daughter. She always wanted a family. She never talked about my father. The message sat there, unanswered, for nearly 5 minutes. Emily was about to set the phone down when Vincent's response came through. What did she tell you about him? Nothing, just that he wasn't in the picture. I stopped asking when I was 10. Did you ever want to find him? Emily thought about it. Honest answer? Sometimes. But I figured if he wanted to be found, he would have been. Maybe he didn't know you existed. The words hit Emily like cold water. She'd never considered that possibility. Her mother had been so closed off about the subject that Emily had always assumed her father knew and simply didn't care. Do you think that's true? I don't know. But Sarah was a private person. If she had reasons for keeping secrets, they were probably good ones. Emily stared at the message. Something about Vincent's tone felt personal, like he was speaking from experience. Did you know him? My father? I don't know who he was. The answer felt like a door closing. Emily didn't push. They texted back and forth for another hour. Vincent asked about her classes, her interests, her plans. Emily found herself opening up in ways she hadn't with anyone since her mother died. Vincent listened, really listened, and responded with a kind of steady presence that made her feel less alone. When they finally said goodnight, Emily lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering who Vincent really was, and why a man her mother had known 20 years ago was suddenly the only person who made her feel safe. The peace lasted 3 days. On the 4th day, Emily received an email from the Office of Student Financial Services. The subject line made her stomach drop. Urgent. Scholarship Eligibility Review. She opened it with shaking hands. Dear Ms. Carter, it has come to our attention that discrepancies exist regarding your academic performance and eligibility for continued scholarship funding. You are required to attend a meeting with Director Ryan Whitmore on Friday, October 18th at 4 p.m. in the Financial Services Office, room 302. Failure to attend will result in immediate suspension of your scholarship pending further review. Sincerely, Office of Student Financial Services. Emily read it twice, her heart pounding. Discrepancies. What discrepancies? She had a 3.7 GPA. She'd completed every requirement. There were no discrepancies. This was Ryan. This was him reasserting control. She forwarded the email to Vincent without thinking. His response came within minutes. Don't go to that meeting. I have to. If I don't, they'll suspend my scholarship. They won't, trust me. How can you be sure? Because I'm handling it. Do not go into a room alone with that man. Do you understand? Emily's hands trembled. Yes. Good. I need you to do something else. Pack a bag. Essentials only. Be ready to leave your dorm by tonight if necessary. Leave? Why? Because I don't trust Ryan Whitmore not to escalate. If he does, I want you somewhere safe. Where would I go? I'm working on that. Just pack. Emily stared at the message, fear and confusion warring in her chest, but she did what Vincent asked. She packed a small duffel bag with clothes, toiletries, her laptop, and the one photo she had of her mother. Then she sat on her bed and waited. Hours passed. Evening came. Emily's phone stayed silent. At 9:47 p.m., someone knocked on her door. Emily froze. The knock came again, harder this time. Emily Carter? Campus security. We need to speak with you. Her pulse spiked. She crept to the door and looked through the peephole. 2 men in campus security uniforms stood in the hallway. She didn't recognize either of them. What's this about? She called through the door. We've received a report of a disturbance. We need you to open the door. Emily's blood ran cold. I haven't disturbed anything. Who filed the report? That's confidential. Open the door, please. Every instinct screamed at her not to. She pulled out her phone and texted Vincent. 2 men claiming to be campus security at my door, saying there was a disturbance report. The response was immediate. Do not open that door. Those aren't security. How do you know? Because I'm looking at campus security dispatch right now. There's no report filed for your building. Emily's hands went numb. The knocking grew louder. Miss Carter, If you don't open this door, we'll have to use our override key. Call the police, Vincent's next message read. Real police. Tell them men are trying to force entry into your room. Emily dialed 911 with shaking fingers. 911, what's your emergency? I'm a student at Harrison State. There are men outside my door claiming to be campus security, but I don't think they are. They're trying to get in. What's your location? Emily gave her dorm and room number. The dispatcher's tone sharpened. Stay on the line with me. Officers are on the way. Do not open your door. Through the door, Emily heard one of the men swear, then footsteps, fast, retreating. They're leaving, Emily whispered. Stay where you are, the dispatcher said. Officers will be there in 2 minutes. Emily sank to the floor, phone pressed to her ear, Vincent's text thread open on the screen. Another message appeared. Are you okay? They ran. Police are coming. Tell them everything. I'll make sure they take it seriously. How? Don't worry about how. Just tell the truth. The police arrived 3 minutes later, real officers with badges and body cameras. Emily told them everything, the fake security guards, the threats from Ryan Whitmore, the email demanding a meeting. The officers took notes, asked questions, and promised to investigate. When they left, Emily locked her door and called Vincent. He answered on the first ring. Are you safe? Yes, they're gone. The police are looking into it. Good. Emily, I need you to leave that dorm tonight. This has escalated beyond what I expected. Where am I supposed to go? There's a hotel 2 miles from campus, the Riverside Inn. I've booked you a room under the name Carter. It's paid for. A car will pick you up in 20 minutes. Vincent, I can't. Yes, you can. Grab your bag and wait outside your building. The driver's name is Marcus. He'll get you somewhere safe. Why are you doing this? Vincent was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. Because your mother would never forgive me if I didn't. The line went dead. Emily grabbed her bag, her heart hammering, and did exactly what Vincent told her to do. Ciao. The Riverside Inn was modest but clean. Emily checked in with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The clerk didn't ask questions, just handed her a key card and pointed toward the elevators. The room was on the 3rd floor. Emily locked the door behind her, dropped her bag, and collapsed onto the bed. Her phone buzzed. You there? Yes. Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow we end this. How? You'll see. Emily wanted to demand answers, wanted to know who Vincent really was and how he had the power to make police respond and hotel rooms appear and threats disappear. But exhaustion won. She set her phone on the nightstand, pulled the covers over herself, and fell into a dreamless sleep. When Emily woke, pale morning light filtered through the curtains. Her phone showed 6 missed texts from Vincent. Good morning. There's breakfast downstairs. Eat something. Ryan Whitmore has been removed from his position pending an investigation into harassment and fraud. The university is reviewing your scholarship independently. You'll have an answer by end of day. You're safe now. Call me when you're awake. Emily read the messages 3 times before her brain processed them. Ryan Whitmore had been removed. Removed? How? She called Vincent. He answered immediately. Did you sleep? Yes. Vincent, what did you do? I made some calls, presented some evidence. Ryan Whitmore has been abusing his position for years. He's targeted dozens of students. You weren't the first, Emily, but you're going to be the last. What evidence? Financial records, emails, testimony from former students who were too afraid to come forward. I just gave the university's board of trustees enough rope for Whitmore to hang himself. How did you get all that? I have resources. That's not an answer, Vincent sighed. No, it's not. But it's the only one I can give you right now. What matters is that you're safe. Your scholarship is secure, and Ryan Whitmore will never threaten another student again. Emily's eyes burned. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. What do you mean? Whitmore knows someone came after him. He's going to try to figure out who. And when he does, he might come looking for you. Why would he come after me? Because you're the catalyst. You reached out. You set this in motion. Fear spiked through Emily's relief. So what do I do? You stay at the hotel for 1 more night. Tomorrow, you go back to campus. But you're not going back alone. What does that mean? It means I'm coming to Harrison. Emily's breath caught. You're coming here? Yes. It's time we met face to face. Why now? Because there are things I need to tell you. Things about your mother, about me, about why she saved my number. Emily's heart pounded. What things? Not over the phone. Tomorrow. I'll text you when I'm in town. Vincent, I know you have questions. I'll answer all of them. I promise. The line went dead. Emily sat on the hotel bed staring at her phone and felt the ground shift beneath her. Tomorrow, she would meet the stranger who'd saved her life. Tomorrow, she would learn the secrets her mother had buried. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, for the first time in months, Emily Carter felt safe. The morning felt wrong. Emily stood at the hotel window, watching traffic crawl past on the street below, and couldn't shake the feeling that the world had tilted overnight. Ryan Whitmore was gone. Her scholarship was safe. And somewhere in the country, a man she'd never met was traveling to Harrison to tell her secrets about her mother that could change everything. She'd barely slept despite Vincent's assurances. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those fake security guards at her door, heard their knuckles rapping against the wood, felt the spike of pure terror when Vincent told her they weren't real officers. Someone had sent them. Ryan, probably. Or someone connected to him. Either way, the message was clear. Emily had become a problem that needed to be handled. Her phone buzzed. Vincent. On the road. Should be there by late afternoon. Stay put until I text you. Emily typed back quickly. Okay, are you sure it's safe for me to go back to campus tomorrow? Yes. The university is taking this seriously now. Security has been notified. Whitmore is banned from campus pending the investigation. What if he doesn't care about being banned? Then he'll deal with me. The certainty in those 4 words should have been reassuring. Instead, it made Emily's stomach twist. Who was Vincent Hale? What kind of man could dismantle a career with a few phone calls, arrange safe houses, and speak about threats with the kind of cold finality that suggested he'd handled worse? She set the phone down and forced herself to eat the bagel she'd picked up from the hotel lobby. It tasted like cardboard, but she made herself finish it. Her mother had always said that fear was easier to handle on a full stomach. Emily wasn't sure that was true, but she honored the advice anyway. The hours crawled past. Emily tried to study, tried to focus on the psychology textbook open on her lap, but the words blurred together. Her mind kept circling back to Vincent's promise. There are things I need to tell you. Things about your mother. About me. About why she saved my number. What things? What could possibly be so important that Vincent had to tell her in person? By 3 in the afternoon, Emily was pacing. The hotel room felt too small, the walls closing in. She considered going for a walk, but Vincent's instructions had been clear. Stay put. So she stayed, wearing a path in the carpet between the bed and the window, checking her phone every few minutes for updates that didn't come. At 4:47 p.m., her phone finally rang. Vincent. Hello? I'm in Harrison. Are you still at the hotel? Yes? Good. I'm 10 minutes out. Meet me in the lobby. Emily's heart kicked into overdrive. Now? Now! The line went dead before she could respond. Emily stared at her reflection in the mirror above the dresser. She looked exhausted, her dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail, her face pale and drawn. Not exactly how she wanted to look when meeting the man who'd saved her life. She splashed water on her face, changed into a clean sweater, and headed downstairs before she could lose her nerve. The lobby was quiet. An elderly couple sat near the fireplace, speaking in low voices. A businessman typed on a laptop in the corner. Emily took a seat on one of the couches near the entrance and tried to steady her breathing. 9 minutes later, the lobby doors opened. The man who walked in didn't look like Emily had imagined. Vincent Hale was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair touched with silver at the temples and sharp, assessing eyes that swept the room before landing on her. He wore dark jeans and a black jacket, and he moved with the kind of controlled precision that suggested someone used to commanding spaces just by entering them. He wasn't smiling. Emily stood on shaking legs. Vincent's gaze locked onto her, and for a moment something flickered across his face, something that looked almost like recognition, or pain, or both. Then it was gone, replaced by careful neutrality. He crossed the lobby in a few strides and stopped a respectful distance away. Emily Carter. His voice was the same as on the phone, deep, measured, authoritative. But hearing it in person carried a different weight. This was real. Vincent Hale was real. Vincent? He nodded once. We should talk somewhere private. Do you have a room here? Yes, but I'm not asking you to be alone with a stranger, Vincent said, reading her hesitation. We can talk in the lobby restaurant if you prefer, somewhere public. Emily appreciated that he'd offered. It made her feel less foolish for trusting him this far. The restaurant is fine. They settled into a booth near the back. A waitress appeared, took their drink orders, coffee for both, and disappeared. Emily wrapped her hands around the warm mug when it arrived and tried to find words. Vincent spoke first. I know you have questions. A lot of them. Ask. Emily took a breath. Who are you? Really? Vincent's mouth twitched in something that might have been a smile under different circumstances. That's complicated. Uncomplicate it. He studied her for a long moment. I run a private security firm. We handle high-risk situations for clients who can't go through traditional channels. Corporate espionage, witness protection, threat assessment, asset recovery. If someone needs a problem solved quietly, they come to me. Emily's stomach dropped. You're, what, some kind of mercenary? I prefer the term consultant, but close enough. And my mother knew you? Vincent's expression shifted. The careful neutrality cracked just slightly. Yes. We met when we were young, early 20s. I was nobody then, just a kid trying to survive. Sarah was... He paused, searching for words. She was everything I wasn't, smart, kind, full of hope. We were close for a while. How close? Vincent's eyes met hers. Very. The weight behind that single word made Emily's chest tighten. Were you together, romantically? For about a year. Then I made some choices that pushed her away. Choices I'm not proud of. We lost touch after that. But she kept your number. She did. Why? Vincent set his coffee down carefully. I think she kept it as a fail-safe, a last resort if she ever needed someone who could handle things other people couldn't. Things like Ryan Whitmore. Yes. Emily's mind raced. Her mother had dated Vincent Hale. Had loved him, maybe. Then something had driven them apart. But Sarah had still trusted him enough to keep his number hidden in her phone under a star, just in case Emily ever needed him. The implications were staggering. What choices? Emily asked. What did you do that pushed her away? Vincent's jaw tightened. I got involved with people I shouldn't have. Took jobs that crossed lines. Sarah tried to pull me back, tried to make me see that I was heading down a dark road. I didn't listen. Eventually, she walked away. I don't blame her. Did you try to find her after that? No, I figured she'd moved on, built a better life without me. I hoped she had. Emily's throat felt tight. She did. She had me. Vincent's gaze intensified. When were you born? June 14th, 2006. Something flickered across Vincent's face, quick, sharp, impossible to read. He picked up his coffee, took a long drink, and set it down with deliberate care. Do the math, Emily. When did Sarah and I lose touch? Emily's pulse spiked. She did the math. If her mother had been with Vincent in her early 20s and Emily was born in 2006, that would have put Sarah around 25 when she got pregnant. The timeline fit. The timeline fit perfectly. Oh my God, Emily whispered. Vincent's expression was unreadable. I didn't know. I swear to you, I didn't know Sarah was pregnant. If I had... Are you saying you're my father? The words hung in the air between them, heavy and impossible. Vincent didn't answer immediately. He just looked at her with those sharp, assessing eyes, and Emily saw something in them she hadn't noticed before. Pain. I don't know, Vincent said quietly, but the timing lines up. And the fact that Sarah kept my number all these years, that she saved it under a star where you'd find it if you ever needed it. I think she wanted me to be here for you if something happened to her. Emily's hands shook. She set the coffee mug down before she dropped it. Why wouldn't she tell me? Why wouldn't she tell you? I can think of a few reasons. None of them good. Vincent leaned forward, his voice low and urgent. Sarah knew what I was, what I did. She wouldn't have wanted that life for you. Maybe she thought keeping me out of the picture was protecting you. Or maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're not my father at all. Maybe, Vincent agreed, but there's a way to find out. Emily's stomach twisted. A DNA test. Yes. If you want answers, that's how we get them. Did she want answers? Emily wasn't sure. Her entire life, her father had been a blank space, a question without an answer. Now Vincent Hale was sitting across from her, offering to fill that space with a truth that might be more complicated than she was ready to handle. I need to think about it, Emily said. Take all the time you need. But Emily, regardless of what the test says, I'm not walking away. You reached out to me. You're in danger because of that. I'm going to make sure you're safe, whether I'm your father or not. Why? If you're not, why would you care? Vincent's expression softened just slightly. Because you're Sarah's daughter, and I loved her once. That means something. The waitress returned, asking if they wanted food. Vincent ordered a burger. Emily asked for soup, though she doubted she'd be able to eat it. When the waitress left, Vincent pulled out his phone and showed Emily a photo. This is what I found when I started digging into Ryan Whitmore. Emily took the phone. The screen showed a scanned document, a complaint filed with the university's Title IX office 4 years ago. A female student had accused Ryan of harassment, inappropriate comments, and threats related to her scholarship. The complaint had been dismissed due to lack of evidence. There are 6 more like that, Vincent said. Different students, same pattern. Ryan targets vulnerable women, usually scholarship recipients with no family support. He uses his position to control them, isolate them, and when they try to fight back, he buries the complaints. Emily's hands clenched. How did you find these? I have contacts in university administration. People who owe me favors. When I started asking questions about Ryan Whitmore, they pointed me in the right direction. What happens to him now? The university is conducting a formal investigation. The board of trustees is involved. With this much evidence, Whitmore won't survive it. He'll be fired, possibly face criminal charges depending on what else they find. Good, Emily said fiercely. Vincent's mouth curved slightly. You have Sarah's fire. She used to look like that when she was angry, like she could burn the world down if it pushed her far enough. Emily's chest ached. I miss her. I'm sorry I never got to say goodbye. They sat in silence for a moment. The food arrived. Emily forced herself to eat a few bites of soup while Vincent worked through his burger with mechanical efficiency. Finally, Emily set her spoon down. What happens next? She asked. You go back to campus tomorrow. You attend your classes. You live your life, but you stay alert. If Ryan approaches you, you call me immediately. You think he will? I think he's desperate. Desperate men make dangerous choices. Will you stay in Harrison? Vincent nodded. For a while. Until I'm sure you're safe. Where? I have a hotel room downtown. If you need me, I'm 15 minutes away. Day or night, Emily? You call, I answer. Emily's throat tightened. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. They finished eating in silence. When the check came, Vincent paid over Emily's protests. Then he walked her back to her room, checked the locks, and handed her a card with a phone number written on it. That's my direct line. It bypasses everything. If you're in trouble and can't reach me on your cell, use this. Emily took the card. You really think Ryan will come after me? I think he's spent years building a system that let him prey on students without consequences. You broke that system. He's not going to let that go quietly. So what do I do? Vincent's eyes hardened. You survive, and you let me handle Ryan Whitmore. He left before Emily could ask what that meant. Emily locked the door behind him, sat on the edge of the bed, and finally let herself cry. Not from fear, not from relief, but from the overwhelming weight of everything that had happened in the past week. Her mother had loved a man who might be her father. That man had appeared out of nowhere to save her, and now Emily was caught in the middle of something she didn't fully understand, trusting a stranger who spoke about violence with the calm of someone who'd seen too much of it. Her phone buzzed. A text from Vincent. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we start putting your life back together. Emily wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that Vincent could fix this, that Ryan Whitmore would disappear and everything would go back to normal. But normal had died with her mother. Normal was gone. All Emily had now was survival, and a stranger who might be her father standing between her and the darkness. She texted back, "Okay." Then she turned off the lights and tried to sleep. The next morning, Emily returned to campus with Vincent's number saved in her phone and his warning echoing in her head. The university felt different, quieter. Students hurried between buildings with their heads down, and Emily caught more than one curious glance thrown her way. News traveled fast at Harrison State. Everyone knew about Ryan Whitmore's suspension. Some probably suspected Emily was involved. She made it through her morning classes in a fog. Professors lectured, students took notes, and Emily sat in the back trying to focus on anything other than the constant anxiety humming beneath her skin. At lunch, she bought a sandwich from the campus cafe and found a quiet table in the corner. She was halfway through eating when someone sat down across from her. Emily looked up. The woman was older, maybe mid-50s, with graying hair and sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She wore a university staff badge, Margaret Chen, Student Advocacy Office. "Emily Carter?" Emily's stomach clenched. "Yes?" "I'm Margaret Chen. I work with students who've experienced harassment or discrimination. I heard about what happened with Ryan Whitmore. I wanted to check in with you." Emily set her sandwich down. "I'm okay. Are you? Because what you went through, what Ryan put you through, that's not something you just shake off." "I'm handling it." Margaret's expression softened. "I'm sure you are. But I want you to know you have resources. Counseling services, legal aid, academic support. You don't have to navigate this alone." "I'm not alone," Emily said quietly. "Good. That's good." Margaret hesitated, then leaned forward. "Emily, I need to tell you something. Off the record." Emily's pulse quickened. "What?" "Ryan Whitmore has friends on this campus. People who've protected him for years. His suspension is a step forward, but it's not the end. There's going to be pushback. People who try to discredit you, who claim you're lying or exaggerating. I want you to be prepared for that." Emily's chest tightened. "What kind of people?" "Administrators. Faculty members who owe Ryan favors. Students whose families have connections to the board. You rattled a system that's been in place for a long time. Systems fight back. So what am I supposed to do?" "You stand your ground. You document everything. And you don't let them make you feel like you did something wrong." Margaret reached into her bag and pulled out a business card. "This is my direct number. If anyone harasses you, threatens you, or tries to intimidate you into silence, you call me immediately. I'll make sure it gets handled." Emily took the card. "Why are you helping me?" Margaret's eyes hardened. "Because I've watched Ryan Whitmore destroy students for 15 years. I filed complaints, pushed for investigations, and watched them all get buried. You're the first person who's managed to break through that wall. I'm not going to let you face the fallout alone." "Thank you." Margaret stood. "Be careful, Emily, and watch your back." She left before Emily could respond. Emily sat alone at the table, Margaret's warning circling through her mind like a vulture. The system was going to fight back. People were going to try to discredit her, silence her, make her disappear. But they didn't know about Vincent. Emily pulled out her phone and texted him. "Someone from Student Advocacy just warned me that Ryan has friends who might come after me." Vincent's response was immediate. "Name?" "Margaret Chen." She seemed like she was trying to help. "I'll check her out. In the meantime, stay visible. Don't go anywhere alone. If anyone approaches you, record the conversation if you can." "How am I supposed to record?" "Your phone has a voice memo app. Use it." Emily hadn't thought of that. She pulled up the app, familiarized herself with the controls, and tucked the phone back in her pocket. Then she finished her sandwich and headed to her afternoon class. The rest of the day passed without incident. No threatening emails, no mysterious visitors, no fake security guards. By the time Emily returned to her dorm that evening, she was starting to think maybe Vincent's presence had scared Ryan and his allies into backing off. She should have known better. At 8:15 p.m., someone knocked on her door. Emily checked the peephole. A young woman stood in the hallway, college-aged, blonde, wearing a Harrison State sweatshirt. She looked harmless. Emily opened the door a crack, keeping the chain lock engaged. "Can I help you?" The woman smiled. "Hi, I'm Jessica. I live down the hall. I heard about what happened with Ryan Whitmore. I just wanted to say I'm sorry you had to go through that." Emily's instincts prickled. "Thanks. Can I come in for a minute? I'd like to talk to you about something. I'm kind of busy. Jessica's smile faltered. Please, it's important. It's about Ryan. Emily hesitated. Then she remembered Vincent's warning. Stay visible. Don't go anywhere alone. Letting a stranger into her room didn't qualify as staying visible. I'm sorry. I can't right now. Maybe another time. Jessica's expression hardened. You made a big mistake going after Ryan. You don't know who you're messing with. Emily's blood ran cold. Excuse me? Ryan helped a lot of students. He cared about people, and you ruined his life over nothing. Over nothing? Emily's voice shook with anger. He threatened me, harassed me, abused his power to control vulnerable students. That's not nothing. That's your word against his, and his word means a lot more than yours. Emily slammed the door and locked it. Her hands were shaking. She pulled out her phone and called Vincent. He answered on the first ring. What happened? A girl just came to my door. She threatened me, said I made a mistake going after Ryan. What's her name? Jessica. She said she lives on my floor. Describe her. Emily did. Vincent was silent for a moment. I'm coming to campus. Stay in your room. Don't open the door for anyone. Vincent! I'll be there in 10 minutes. He hung up. Emily paced the small room, adrenaline burning through her veins. Jessica's words echoed in her head. You don't know who you're messing with. Maybe she didn't. Maybe Emily had stumbled into something bigger than she understood. But she wasn't backing down. Not now. Not when she'd come this far. True to his word, Vincent arrived 9 minutes later. Emily heard his voice in the hallway, low, controlled, unmistakably authoritative. Then a knock. Emily, it's Vincent. She opened the door. Vincent stood in the hallway with a campus security officer beside him. A real one this time, with a badge Emily recognized. This is Officer Davis, Vincent said. He's going to take a report about Jessica's threat. Tell him everything. Emily did. Officer Davis took notes, asked questions, and promised to follow up. When he left, Vincent stepped inside Emily's room and closed the door. Pack another bag, he said. What? Why? Because this dorm isn't safe. You're moving. Moving where? I rented an apartment off campus. 2 bedrooms, secure building, security system. You'll stay there until this is resolved. Emily stared at him. I can't just move out of my dorm. Yes, you can, and you will. Emily, these people are escalating. First the fake security guards, now direct threats. I'm not waiting for them to get bolder. But my classes are 10 minutes away. You'll commute. It's not ideal, but it's safer than staying here where anyone can knock on your door. Emily wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle this on her own. But the truth was, she couldn't. She was 19 years old, alone, and caught in a fight against people who'd spent years learning how to bury problems like her. She packed. Vincent drove her to the apartment himself. It was in a quiet building near downtown Harrison, 3rd floor, with a coded entry system and cameras in the lobby. The apartment was furnished simply: a couch, a table, 2 beds, basic kitchen supplies. The 2nd bedroom is yours, Vincent said. I'll take the other one. Emily turned to him. You're staying here? Until this is over, yes. Vincent, you don't have to. I'm not asking for permission, Emily. I'm staying. His tone left no room for argument. Emily set her bag down and looked around the apartment. It felt surreal. A week ago, she'd been alone, terrified, and out of options. Now she was living with a man who might be her father, a man who'd upended his life to protect her from threats she didn't fully understand. Thank you, she said quietly. Vincent's expression softened. You don't have to thank me. This is what family does. But we don't know if we're family. Doesn't matter. You're Sarah's daughter. That's enough. Emily's eyes burned. She blinked hard and turned away before Vincent could see the tears. I should probably get some sleep. I have class early tomorrow. Good idea. I'll be here if you need anything. Emily retreated to her room and closed the door. She sat on the edge of the bed, pulled out her phone, and stared at the photo of her mother. Sarah's face smiled back at her, frozen in time, unaware of the chaos her death would unleash. I hope you know what you were doing, Emily whispered. I hope this is what you wanted. The photo didn't answer. But somewhere in the quiet apartment, Vincent moved through the rooms, checking locks and windows, standing guard over the daughter he might have never known existed. And for the first time since her mother died, Emily didn't feel alone. Emily woke to the smell of coffee and the low murmur of Vincent's voice in the next room. For a disorienting moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed back. The apartment, the threats, the man who might be her father standing guard in the living room while she slept. She checked her phone. 6:42 a.m. Her first class started at 9. Emily dragged herself out of bed, pulled on jeans and a sweater, and ventured into the main room. Vincent stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, his back to her. He wore the same dark jeans from yesterday and a fresh shirt, and he looked like he hadn't slept at all. "I don't care what it costs," he said into the phone. "I want eyes on that building 24/7. If Whitmore so much as drives past campus, I want to know about it." A pause. "Good. Keep me updated." He hung up and turned. When he saw Emily, his expression shifted from hard to carefully neutral. "Morning. There's coffee." Emily poured herself a cup and tried not to think about the conversation she'd just overheard. Vincent was having someone watch Ryan's movements. The implications of that made her stomach twist. "Did you sleep?" she asked. "Enough." Vincent leaned against the counter, studying her. "How are you feeling?" "Tired. Scared. Confused." Emily took a sip of coffee. It was strong and bitter, exactly what she needed. "Who were you talking to?" "A colleague. I'm having Ryan Whitmore monitored. If he comes near you, I'll know." "Is that legal?" Vincent's mouth curved slightly. "That's a complicated question." "Uncomplicate it. Let's just say I operate in gray areas. The law is a tool, Emily. Sometimes you use it, sometimes you work around it." Emily should have been disturbed by that. She wasn't. Maybe that made her complicit. Maybe it made her pragmatic. Either way, she was too tired to care. "What happens if he does come near me?" she asked. "I handle it." "How?" Vincent's eyes went cold. "However I need to." The weight of that answer settled between them. Emily changed the subject. "I need to get to campus. My psychology class starts at 9. I'll drive you." "You don't have to." "I'm driving you, Emily. Non-negotiable." She didn't argue. They finished their coffee in silence, then headed down to Vincent's car, a black sedan that looked expensive and anonymous at the same time. The drive to campus took 12 minutes. Vincent pulled up to the psychology building and put the car in park. "Text me when class is over. I'll pick you up." "Vincent, I can walk between buildings. You don't need to chauffeur me around." "Humor me," Emily sighed. "Fine, I'll text you." She got out of the car and headed into the building, feeling Vincent's eyes on her back until she disappeared through the doors. Psychology passed in a blur of lecture notes and half-hearted participation. Emily's mind kept drifting to Vincent, to her mother, to the DNA test he'd offered, and the truth it might reveal. When class ended, Emily checked her phone. 3 missed texts from Vincent. "How was class?" "Where are you now?" "Emily, answer your phone." She called him immediately. "I'm fine. Class just ended. Sorry, my phone was on silent." "Don't do that again. I need to be able to reach you." "Okay, I have another class at 11. English Lit." "Where?" "Morrison Hall, east side of campus." "I'll meet you there at 12:50. Don't leave the building until I text you." "Vincent, please, Emily, just do this for me." The plea in his voice surprised her. Emily agreed and hung up. She grabbed lunch at the student union, found a quiet corner to study, and tried to ignore the stares from other students. Word had definitely spread about Ryan Whitmore. Emily caught whispered conversations, sideways glances, and at least one group of girls who stopped talking the moment she walked past. She was starting to understand what Margaret Chen had meant about pushback. English Lit was better. Shh. The professor lectured on Hemingway, and Emily managed to lose herself in analysis of sparse prose and subtext. When class ended, she checked her phone. A text from Vincent. "Outside Morrison, black sedan." Emily gathered her books and headed out. Vincent's car was idling at the curb. She slid into the passenger seat and buckled up. "How was class?" "Good. We talked about the old man and the sea." Vincent pulled away from the curb. "Your mother loved that book. She said it reminded her that survival isn't the same as winning, but it's still worth fighting for." Emily's chest tightened. She said that? Word for word, she was big on fighting, even when the odds were terrible. She fought cancer for 18 months. The doctor said she'd be lucky to make it 6. Vincent's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She was always stubborn. I'm not surprised. They drove in silence for a moment. Then Emily asked the question she'd been avoiding since yesterday. Do you want to do the DNA test? Vincent didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was careful. Do you? I don't know. Part of me wants answers. Part of me is terrified of what they'll be. What scares you more? Finding out I'm your father or finding out I'm not? Emily thought about it. Honest answer? Both. If you are, then my whole life has been built on my mom keeping this massive secret. If you're not, then I'm back to having no family at all. You'll have family either way, Emily. I meant what I said. I'm not walking away. Why? If the test says you're not my father, why would you stay? Vincent pulled into the apartment parking lot and turned off the engine. He sat there for a moment, staring through the windshield at nothing. Because I've spent 20 years wondering what my life would have been like if I'd made different choices. If I'd listened to Sarah instead of pushing her away. And now I have a chance to do something right, to protect someone who matters. I'm not throwing that away regardless of what some test says. Emily's eyes burned. You really loved her, didn't you? More than I knew how to handle, that's why I lost her. They sat in the car, two strangers bound by grief and possibility, and Emily made her decision. Let's do the test, she said. I need to know. Vincent nodded once. I'll arrange it. They went inside. Vincent made phone calls while Emily pretended to study. Within an hour, he'd scheduled a DNA test for the following morning at a private lab downtown. Fast, discreet, and accurate. Results in 48 hours. 2 days. In 2 days, Emily would know if the man who'd saved her life was her father. The weight of it was suffocating. That evening, Emily sat on the couch with her laptop, trying to focus on an essay for her English class. Vincent worked at this dining table, typing on his own computer with the kind of focused intensity that suggested he was handling something important. Every so often, his phone would buzz. He'd read the message, type a response, and go back to work. Around 8 p.m., Emily's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Emily Carter? The voice was male, smooth, familiar. Her blood turned to ice. Who is this? You know who it is? Ryan Whitmore. Emily's hands started shaking. Across the room, Vincent's head snapped up. He was on his feet in seconds, crossing to her. What do you want? Emily managed. I want to talk, face to face, just you and me. No. Emily, you've made some very serious accusations. Accusations that have destroyed my career and my reputation. I think I deserve a chance to defend myself. You don't deserve anything. Vincent held out his hand. Emily gave him the phone without hesitation. Vincent put it on speaker. Ryan Whitmore, Vincent said, his voice deadly calm. There was a pause on the other end. Who the hell is this? Someone you should have thought about before you decided to threaten a 19-year-old girl. I don't know who you think you are, but this is between me and Emily. Wrong. This is between you and me now. And here's how this is going to work. You stay away from Emily. You don't call her, don't text her, don't approach her on campus. You don't send your friends to intimidate her. You don't speak her name. If you violate any of those terms, I will make what's happened to your career look like a minor inconvenience. Ryan's laugh was bitter. You think you scare me? I don't know what Emily told you, but she's lying. I never threatened her, never harassed her. She's a troubled student who couldn't handle the pressure and decided to blame me for her failures. That's an interesting story. Want to know what I think? Not particularly. I think you've been abusing your position for years. I think you've targeted vulnerable students, manipulated them, and destroyed anyone who tried to fight back. I think you're a predator who got comfortable because no one ever called you on it, but that ends now. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Vincent's smile was razor sharp. Neither do you, but you're about to find out. He hung up. Emily's heart was hammering. He called me. How did he get my number? Student records. He probably still has access through back channels. Vincent's expression was grim. This is escalation. He's getting desperate. What do we do? We finish him. The certainty in Vincent's voice should have been reassuring. Instead, it made Emily's stomach twist. What does that mean? It means tomorrow I'm going to the university board with everything I have on Ryan Whitmore. Every complaint, every buried report, every student he's hurt. I'm going to make sure they have no choice but to fire him and refer charges to the district attorney. Will that stop him from coming after me? It'll make it much harder. Once he's facing criminal charges, harassing you becomes evidence of retaliation. He'd be stupid to risk it. And if he's stupid? Vincent's eyes went cold. Then I handle it personally. Emily didn't ask what that meant. She didn't want to know. That night, Emily lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Ryan's call in her head. His voice had been calm, controlled, almost reasonable. But underneath, she'd heard the rage. Ryan Whitmore was a man who'd spent years in control, and now that control was slipping. Desperate men made dangerous choices. Vincent had said that. And Vincent knew about dangerous men. Emily must have fallen asleep eventually, because she woke to morning light and the sound of Vincent moving around the apartment. She checked her phone. 7:15 a.m. The DNA test was scheduled for 9. She got up, showered, and dressed in clean clothes. Vincent had coffee waiting when she emerged. Ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. They drove to the lab in silence. The facility was small and professional, tucked into a medical building downtown. A technician led them to a private room, swabbed the inside of Emily's cheek, then Vincent's, and labeled the samples with clinical efficiency. Results in 48 hours, the technician said. We'll email them to the address on file. Vincent nodded. They left the lab and got back in the car. Emily felt numb. In 2 days, her entire world might change. You okay? Vincent asked. Ask me in 48 hours. He drove her to campus. Emily had back-to-back classes until 3 p.m. Vincent promised to pick her up afterward. Emily went through the motions of being a student, lectures, notes, conversations with classmates who didn't know her life was imploding. By the time 3 o'clock rolled around, she was exhausted. She texted Vincent, "Done for the day." His response was immediate, "On my way." Emily waited outside the science building, backpack slung over one shoulder, watching traffic crawl past. Students streamed around her, heading to dorms or libraries or late lunches. Normal college life. Emily wondered if she'd ever feel normal again. A black sedan pulled up to the curb. Vincent. Emily started toward it. Then she saw the man standing by the parking lot entrance, Ryan Whitmore. He was watching her, his expression unreadable. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there 20 yards away, making sure she saw him. Emily's blood ran cold. She pulled out her phone and texted Vincent. "Ryan's here." The response came instantly. "Where?" "Parking lot entrance. He's just standing there. Get in the car. Now." Emily hurried to the sedan. Vincent already had the passenger door open. She slid inside and locked the door. Vincent's eyes were locked on Ryan. "Stay here," Vincent said. "What are you going to do?" "Have a conversation." Before Emily could stop him, Vincent was out of the car and walking toward Ryan with the kind of controlled purpose that made Emily's stomach drop. She watched through the windshield as Vincent closed the distance, stopping a few feet from Ryan. Emily couldn't hear what they were saying, but she could read body language. Ryan stood his ground, arms crossed, expression defiant. Vincent's posture was relaxed, almost casual, but there was something in the way he held himself that screamed danger. Then Vincent said something that made Ryan's face go white. Ryan took a step back. Vincent stepped forward, closing the gap, and spoke again. Whatever he said, it drained every ounce of confidence from Ryan's expression. Ryan's mouth moved, some kind of protest or threat, but Vincent cut him off with a single sentence. Ryan turned and walked away fast, almost running, and didn't look back. Vincent returned to the car and slid into the driver's seat. His expression was unreadable. "What did you say to him?" Emily asked. "That if he came near you again, I'd make sure the rest of his life was very, very short." Emily's stomach twisted. "You threatened to kill him?" "I told him the truth. There's a difference." "Vincent, he's done, Emily. He knows it. He came here to scare you, to prove he still had power. But the moment he saw me, he realized he doesn't. Not anymore." Emily wanted to argue. Wanted to say that threatening someone's life wasn't the answer, but she'd seen Ryan's face. She'd seen the terror, and she couldn't deny that part of her was glad. Glad that someone had finally made Ryan Whitmore afraid. Maybe that made her a bad person, or maybe it just made her human. Vincent drove them back to the apartment. Emily's hands were still shaking when they walked inside. She dropped her backpack on the couch and turned to Vincent. Is he really done? Or is this going to get worse? Vincent's expression softened. I won't lie to you. Men like Ryan don't give up easily. But I've made it clear that coming after you means going through me, and I don't think he's brave enough for that. But you're not sure. I'm never sure. But I'm prepared. Emily sank onto the couch. I hate this. I hate feeling like I'm constantly waiting for the next threat. Vincent sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance. I know. And I'm sorry you're going through it. But you're stronger than you think, Emily. You survived months of Ryan's harassment alone. Now you have backup. That changes everything. Does it? Because it feels like things are just getting worse. They're getting louder. That's different. When you shine light on something that's been hiding in the dark, it makes noise. But noise isn't the same as power. Ryan's noise. I'm power. Emily looked at him. At this man who'd appeared out of nowhere, who might be her father, who spoke about violence with the calm of someone who'd lived it. She should be terrified of him. Instead, she felt safe. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything. Vincent's expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering across his face before he locked it down. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You upended your entire life for me. You don't even know if I'm your daughter. Doesn't matter. You're Sarah's daughter. That's enough. Emily's eyes burned. Before she could second-guess herself, she leaned forward and hugged him. Vincent went rigid for a moment, surprised, then carefully wrapped his arms around her and held on. It was the first time Emily had been hugged since her mother died. They stayed like that for a long moment. Then Emily pulled back, wiping her eyes. Sorry, I just don't apologize ever. Vincent's voice was rough. You've got nothing to be sorry for. Emily nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Vincent stood and headed to the kitchen. I'm making dinner. You like pasta? Yeah. Good. Go relax. We'll eat in an hour. Emily retreated to her room and closed the door. She sat on the bed, pulled out her phone, and stared at the photo of her mother. Sarah's smile looked back at her, frozen and eternal. I think he's a good man, Mom, Emily whispered. I think you loved him for a reason. Her mother didn't answer, but somewhere in the kitchen, Vincent moved around making dinner, and Emily felt a little less alone. The next day brought news Emily had been dreading. An email from the university's Office of Student Affairs arrived at 10:23 a.m. while Emily was in her biology class. She didn't see it until the lecture ended. The subject line made her stomach drop. Academic Integrity Investigation. Emily's hands shook as she opened it. Dear Ms. Carter, this letter is to inform you that the Office of Student Affairs has opened an investigation into allegations of academic dishonesty related to your recent coursework. Specifically, concerns have been raised about plagiarism in your Psychology 2, O1 midterm essay, and falsification of research sources in your English 102 literature review. You are required to attend a hearing on Friday, October 25th at 2 p.m. in the Student Affairs Office, room 401. Failure to attend will result in automatic academic sanctions, including possible expulsion. You have the right to bring an advisor to this hearing. All evidence will be presented at that time. Sincerely, Dean Patricia Morrison. Office of Student Affairs. Emily read the email 3 times, her vision blurring. Plagiarism, falsification of sources. She'd never cheated on anything in her life. Her 3.7 GPA was earned through late nights and constant work. This was a lie. This was Ryan. She called Vincent immediately. What's wrong? The university is accusing me of academic dishonesty. They're opening an investigation. There's a hearing on Friday. Vincent's silence was ominous. Forward me the email. Emily did. Seconds later, Vincent's voice came back sharp and cold. This is retaliation. Ryan's using his connections to frame you. Can he do that? He shouldn't be able to. But if he still has access to student records, if he has allies in administration who owe him favors, then yes, He can fabricate evidence and bury you with it. Emily's chest tightened. So what do? You fight back, but not alone. I'm calling in some favors of my own. What kind of favors? The kind that make academic fraud investigations disappear. Vincent, trust me, Emily. I'm not letting Ryan destroy you with lies. He hung up before she could respond. Emily stood in the hallway outside her biology lecture, students streaming past, and felt the walls closing in. Ryan had waited until she felt safe, then struck where it hurt most, her academic future. Without her scholarship, without her degree, Emily had nothing. But Vincent had promised to fight back, and Emily was starting to understand that when Vincent Hale made a promise, he kept it. She made it through the rest of her classes on autopilot. When Vincent picked her up that afternoon, his expression was grim. I found out who filed the complaint, he said as they drove. Professor Michael Chen, he teaches Psychology 201, claims he found your essay matched 70% to an online source. That's impossible. I wrote that essay myself. I know, which means someone altered the file or fabricated the similarity report. Can they do that? Technically, no. Practically, if you have administrative access and know what you're doing, yes. Emily's hands clenched. So Ryan framed me. Almost certainly. But here's the thing. He got sloppy. The timestamp on the plagiarism report shows it was generated yesterday, 2 weeks after you submitted the essay. That's unusual. Professors usually run those checks immediately. What does that mean? It means someone with access to the system ran the check recently and possibly manipulated the results. If I can prove that, the entire investigation collapses. How do you prove it? Vincent's smile was sharp. I have people who specialize in digital forensics. They're looking at the university's system logs right now. If there's evidence of tampering, they'll find it. Emily stared at him. You can do that? Just hack into the university's system? I'm not hacking anything. I have associates who are very good at finding information that people think they've hidden. It's not strictly legal, but it's effective. And if you get caught? I won't. The certainty in his voice should have been arrogant. Instead, it was just fact. Vincent Hale didn't get caught. He didn't fail. He solved problems, regardless of the cost. They arrived at the apartment. Emily went straight to her room and collapsed on the bed. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. A text from an unknown number. You should have stayed quiet, Emily. Now you're going to lose everything. Her blood ran cold. She showed the message to Vincent. His expression darkened. Block that number. What if there are more? Then you block them all, and I trace them back to whoever sent them. Vincent took her phone, did something with the settings, and handed it back. You're protected now. Any threatening messages will be logged and forwarded to me automatically. Can you trace them? Already working on it. Emily wanted to ask how, but she was starting to realize that Vincent operated on a different level. He had resources, connections, and skills that most people couldn't imagine. Her mother had known that, had trusted him enough to save his number for exactly this kind of situation. That night, Emily barely slept. Every sound in the apartment made her jump. Every notification on her phone sent her pulse racing. She was waiting for the next attack, the next threat, the next piece of evidence Ryan would fabricate to destroy her. Morning came with no new disasters. Emily dragged herself out of bed and found Vincent at the dining table, surrounded by printouts and his laptop. I found something, he said without preamble. Emily's heart kicked. What? The plagiarism report was generated by an account with administrative access, but the account doesn't belong to Professor Chen. It belongs to someone in the financial services office. Ryan. Probably, or someone working with him. Either way, it's proof of tampering. I'm forwarding this to the university's general counsel this morning. Will they believe you? They will when I show them the server logs and the digital fingerprints. Whoever did this left a trail. Emily sank into a chair. So the investigation gets dropped? The investigation becomes about who falsified the evidence. And once that happens, the focus shifts to Ryan and whoever helped him. You'll be cleared. Relief flooded through Emily so fast it made her dizzy. How soon? I'm meeting with the general counsel at 10. By this afternoon, you should have notification that the charges are dropped. And Ryan? Vincent's expression went cold. Ryan's about to have a very bad day. He left at 9:30 for his meeting. Emily tried to study, tried to focus on anything other than the hearing that might not even happen. Her phone buzzed at 11:47 a.m. Vincent, charges dropped. You're clear. Emily's hands shook as she typed back. Really? Really? The university is launching an internal investigation into evidence tampering. Ryan's name is at the top of the list. What happens to him now? Criminal charges for fraud and harassment. The district attorney is getting involved. Emily set the phone down and let herself cry. Not from fear this time. From relief. From exhaustion. From the overwhelming weight of everything she'd survived in the past 2 weeks. Ryan Whitmore was done. Finished. He couldn't hurt her anymore. But even as relief washed over her, Emily knew this wasn't quite over. Desperate men made dangerous choices. And Ryan Whitmore was running out of options. The relief lasted exactly 4 hours. Emily was making lunch in the apartment kitchen when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice, low and shaking with barely controlled rage. You think you've won. Emily's blood turned to ice. Ryan, you've destroyed my career, my reputation. 20 years of service, gone because some entitled little girl couldn't handle being told no. You threatened me, harassed me. You did this to yourself. Ryan's laugh was bitter and unhinged. I gave you opportunities. I tried to help you. And this is how you repay me? By bringing in some thug to ruin my life? Vincent isn't a thug. He's nothing, and you're nothing. You're a scholarship student with a dead mother and no future. Without me, you're nobody. Emily's hands shook. I'm hanging up now. Don't you dare. We're not finished, not even close. We're done, Ryan. The university knows what you did. The district attorney is building a case against you. It's over. Over? Ryan's voice rose. It's not over until I say it's over. You want to know what happens to people who cross me? You want to know what I'm capable of? Fear spiked through Emily's chest. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you, this isn't finished, Emily. Not by a long shot. The line went dead. Emily stood frozen in the kitchen, phone clutched in her shaking hand, Ryan's words echoing in her head. She called Vincent immediately. He called again. He's threatening me. He said this isn't finished. Vincent's response was instant and sharp. Did he specify a threat? Not exactly, but the way he said it, Vincent, he sounded unhinged. Where are you right now? The apartment. Lock the door. Don't leave. I'm coming back. I thought you were meeting with the university's legal team. I was. Meeting's over. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Lock the door, Emily. He hung up. Emily did exactly what he said, checking every lock, every window. Then she sat on the couch and tried to control her breathing. Ryan Whitmore had nothing left to lose. His career was destroyed, criminal charges were pending, and his carefully constructed system of power had collapsed. That made him dangerous in a way he hadn't been before. Desperate men made desperate choices. Vincent arrived 12 minutes later. He came through the door with the kind of controlled urgency that made Emily's stomach drop. Tell me exactly what he said. Emily repeated the conversation word for word. Vincent's expression grew darker with each sentence. He's escalating. This is exactly what I was afraid of. What do we do? Vincent pulled out his phone and made a call. Marcus, I need you at the Harrison apartment. Full security detail. Now. A pause. I don't care. Cancel it. This is priority 1. He hung up and turned back to Emily. I'm bringing in a security team. Someone will be watching this building 24/7. Vincent, that's excessive. No, it's necessary. Ryan just made a direct threat. I'm not taking chances. Can't we just call the police? Report the threat? We will. But police response time is minutes. A lot can happen in minutes. I'd rather have professionals on site who can handle a situation before it becomes a crisis. Emily wanted to argue, wanted to say she could take care of herself, but Ryan's voice still echoed in her head, venomous and unhinged. She wasn't equipped to handle someone who'd lost everything and wanted revenge. Okay, she said quietly. Do whatever you think is necessary. Vincent's expression softened slightly. I know this is overwhelming, but I promise you we're going to get through this. Ryan Whitmore is going to face consequences for what he's done, and you're going to be safe. How can you be sure? because I've handled worse men than Ryan Whitmore. And I've never lost someone I was protecting. The certainty in his voice was absolute. Emily wanted to believe him, needed to believe him. The DNA results should come through tomorrow, Vincent said, changing the subject. Are you ready for that? Emily hadn't thought about the test in hours. With everything happening with Ryan, the question of Vincent's paternity had taken a back seat. Now it rushed back, heavy and complicated. I don't know if I'll ever be ready, she admitted, but I want to know. Either way, I want to know the truth. Vincent nodded. Whatever the results say, nothing changes. You understand that, right? I'm here regardless. I understand. But Emily wasn't sure she did. If the test came back negative, would Vincent really stay? Or would he slowly disengage, his obligation fulfilled, his conscience clear? And if it came back positive, what then? How did you build a relationship with a father you'd never known existed? A man who lived in shadows and solved problems with threats. Vincent's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned. The security team is 10 minutes out. I need to brief them. Will you be okay for a few minutes? Yes, go. Vincent stepped into the hallway. Emily heard his voice, low and commanding, giving instructions to whoever was on the other end. She pulled out her phone and stared at her mother's contact photo. What were you thinking, Mom? She whispered. What did you want me to do with this? Her mother's smile offered no answers. 20 minutes later, 2 men arrived at the apartment. Marcus was tall and broad-shouldered, ex-military, written all over him. His partner, a woman named Rachel, was smaller but carried herself with the same lethal competence. Vincent introduced them briefly. Marcus and Rachel will be rotating shifts. One of them will always be in the building. You won't see them unless there's a problem, but they'll be here. Emily felt simultaneously safer and more terrified. The presence of professional security made Ryan's threats real in a way they hadn't been before. That evening passed in tense quiet. Vincent made dinner while Emily tried to study. Her psychology textbook might as well have been written in another language for all the sense it made. Finally, she gave up and joined Vincent in the kitchen. Can I help? You can set the table. They worked in companionable silence. When the food was ready, simple pasta with marinara, they sat across from each other and ate. Emily pushed the food around her plate, appetite gone. You need to eat, Vincent said gently. I know you're stressed, but you can't skip meals. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. Your mother would kill me if I let you waste away. The mention of her mother made Emily's chest tighten. Did she cook for you when you were together? Vincent's expression went distant. Sometimes. She made this incredible chicken dish with lemon and herbs. I still remember the smell of it. She'd make it when she wanted to celebrate something. A good grade, a job promotion, just making it through a hard week. She never made that for me. Maybe it reminded her of things she wanted to forget. Emily forced herself to take a bite of pasta. Do you regret it, losing her? Every day. But regret doesn't change the past. All I can do is try to do better now. Is that why you're helping me, to make up for losing her? Vincent set down his fork. I'm helping you because it's the right thing to do, because you needed someone, and I was in a position to help. Your mother saved my number for a reason, Emily. Maybe she knew that someday you'd need exactly the kind of help I could provide. Or maybe she just never deleted it. Your mother didn't do anything by accident. Every choice she made was deliberate. If she kept that number, it was because she wanted you to have it. Emily wanted to believe that, wanted to think her mother had planned this, had left her a lifeline disguised as a star in a contact list. But it was just as likely that Sarah had simply forgotten the number was there, and Emily's desperate text had been nothing more than cosmic coincidence. They finished dinner in silence. Vincent insisted on doing the dishes. Emily retreated to her room and tried to sleep, but every sound in the building made her jump. Footsteps in the hallway. A door closing somewhere above them. The hum of the heating system kicking on. She must have dozed eventually because she woke to morning light and the smell of coffee. Her phone showed 7:43 a.m. She had class at 9. When she emerged from her room, Vincent was already dressed and alert, coffee in hand. How'd you sleep? Barely. That'll get better. First few days are always the hardest. Emily poured herself coffee. Do you do this often? Protect people? It's part of what I do, yes. And you're good at it? Vincent's mouth curved slightly. I'm still alive. So are the people I've protected. I'd call that a success rate. Emily wanted to ask how many people he'd protected, how many threats he'd eliminated, how much blood was on his hands in the name of keeping others safe. But she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answers. Her phone buzzed. An email notification. Emily's heart jumped when she saw the sender. Gene Tech Laboratories. Vincent, the results are here. Vincent set down his coffee, his expression carefully neutral. Do you want to open it now or wait? Now. I can't handle waiting anymore. Emily opened the email with shaking hands. The message was brief and clinical. Dear Ms. Carter, your DNA analysis has been completed. Results are attached as a secure PDF. Please use the password provided during sample collection to access the document. Thank you for choosing Gene Tech Laboratories. Emily clicked on the attachment. A password prompt appeared. She typed in the code the technician had given her, hands trembling so badly she mistyped twice before getting it right. The PDF opened. Emily's eyes scanned the page, technical jargon blurring together until she found the conclusion at the bottom. Probability of paternity, 99.97%. The words hit her like a physical blow. Vincent Hale was her father, not just probably, not just maybe. Her father. She looked up. Vincent was watching her, his expression guarded, waiting. It's positive, Emily whispered. You're my father. Something broke across Vincent's face. Relief, grief, shock, all at once. He sat down heavily in the nearest chair and pressed his hands to his face. Vincent? When he looked up, his eyes were bright. I have a daughter. All this time I had a daughter and didn't know it. Emily's vision blurred. My mom never told you. She had her reasons. I'm sure she had good reasons. Vincent's voice was rough. Sarah was protecting you from my life, from what I'd become. She knew I was dangerous, that people around me got hurt. She kept you safe by keeping you away from me. But she kept your number, just in case. Just in case something happened to her and you needed someone who could handle the kind of trouble most people can't. She knew what I was capable of, Emily, and she trusted that if you ever reached out, I'd do the right thing. Emily crossed the room and sat beside him. Are you angry? That she didn't tell you? No, I'm grateful. She gave you a better life than I could have. You grew up safe, loved, protected from the things I deal with. That's a gift. But you missed everything. My whole childhood. Vincent's jaw tightened. Yes, and I can't get that back. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Emily felt tears streaming down her face. She'd spent her whole life without a father, convinced he didn't care, didn't want her. And now she knew the truth. He'd never known she existed. Her mother had made that choice, had carried that secret to her grave, believing it was the right thing to do. Maybe it had been. Maybe Sarah had saved Emily from a life of danger and darkness by keeping Vincent away. Or maybe she'd robbed them both of 20 years they could have had together. Emily would never know. All she could do was move forward. I have a father, she said, testing the words. Vincent's smile was fragile. And I have a daughter. They sat together in the morning light, two strangers bound by blood and circumstance, and tried to figure out what that meant. The moment didn't last. Emily's phone rang, campus security. Her stomach dropped as she answered. Ms. Carter, this is Officer Davis. We need you to come to the administration building immediately. Why? What's wrong? There's been an incident. Ryan Whitmore was found on campus this morning. He's been arrested, but we need to take your statement. Emily's blood ran cold. He's on campus? I thought he was banned. He was. That's why he's in custody. But Ms. Carter, he was found outside your old dorm building. We need to know if you've had any contact with him. He called me yesterday, threatened me. Did you report it? Not to campus security. Emily glanced at Vincent. I told someone else. We'll need details. Can you come in now? Emily looked at Vincent. He was already on his feet, keys in hand. I'll be there in 20 minutes, Emily said. They drove to campus in tense silence. Vincent's hands were tight on the steering wheel, his expression carved from stone. When they arrived at the administration building, Officer Davis was waiting with two other security personnel and a man in a suit who introduced himself as Detective Morrison from the Harrison Police Department. Ms. Carter, thank you for coming in. I'm leading the investigation into Ryan Whitmore's harassment campaign. I understand he contacted you yesterday? Emily repeated the conversation, every threatening word. Detective Morrison took notes. And you didn't report this to police? I was going to, but Vincent stepped forward. She reported it to me. I'm her father. I've been handling security for her since the threats began. Detective Morrison's eyes sharpened. And you are? Vincent Hale. I run a private security firm. I've been coordinating with the university on Emily's protection. I see. Mr. Hale, did you have any direct contact with Mr. Whitmore? Yes. I warned him to stay away from my daughter. Did you threaten him? Vincent's expression didn't change. I informed him of the consequences of continued harassment. Whether he took that as a threat is his interpretation. Detective Morrison studied Vincent for a long moment. Mr. Whitmore claims you've been stalking him, following him, interfering with his life. Mr. Whitmore is lying. I've had professionals monitoring his movements to ensure he doesn't approach Emily. That's protection, not stalking. That's a fine line, Mr. Hale. I'm aware of the line, Detective. I haven't crossed it. The detective made a note. We found Mr. Whitmore outside Miss Carter's former residence this morning at 6:47 a.m. He was in possession of a key that matches the dorm building's exterior doors. We're trying to determine how he obtained it. Emily's stomach twisted. He was trying to get into the building. We believe so. Fortunately, a resident reported seeing a suspicious individual and called security. We arrested him before he gained entry. What happens to him now? Vincent asked. He'll be charged with criminal trespass, violation of a restraining order, and stalking. Combined with the evidence of academic fraud and harassment, he's looking at significant jail time. Relief flooded through Emily. So he can't come near me anymore? Not without violating bail conditions, which would land him immediately in jail. Detective Morrison's expression softened. Ms. Carter, I know this has been traumatic, but you did the right thing reporting Whitmore's behavior. You may have saved other students from going through what you experienced. Emily nodded, not trusting her voice. The interview lasted another 30 minutes. When it was finally over, Vincent drove Emily back to the apartment. She was shaking, adrenaline and relief and exhaustion all crashing together. He was trying to get into my dorm, she said. If I'd still been living there, but you weren't. You were safe at the apartment with security outside. That's why we took those precautions. How did you know? How did you know he'd do something like this? Because I've dealt with men like Ryan before. They follow patterns. When their power is stripped away, they lash out. They try to reclaim control through violence or intimidation. I wasn't going to give him the chance. Emily looked at Vincent, at her father, and felt a wave of gratitude so intense it made her chest ache. You saved my life. You saved your own life by reaching out, by refusing to stay silent. I just provided backup. It was more than backup. Vincent pulled into the apartment parking lot and turned off the engine. Emily, there's something you need to understand. Ryan Whitmore targeted you because he thought you were vulnerable, alone, easy prey. But you're not alone anymore. You have family, and anyone who wants to hurt you has to go through me first. The fierce protectiveness in his voice made Emily's eyes sting. I have a father, she said again, still testing the words. Yes, and I have a daughter. Vincent's expression softened. We've got a lot of lost time to make up for, but we've got time now, all the time in the world. They went upstairs together. Marcus was in the hallway doing a perimeter check. He nodded to Vincent, who gave him a brief update. Then they went inside the apartment and Vincent made coffee while Emily tried to process everything that had happened in the past 12 hours. She'd learned Vincent was her father. Ryan had been arrested trying to break into her old dorm. The threats were over. Her life could finally start moving forward instead of just surviving crisis after crisis. But one question still nagged at her. Vincent, what happens now? With us, I mean. Vincent handed her a mug of coffee. What do you want to happen? I don't know. I've never had a father before. And I've never been one. We'll figure it out together. But your life, your work.
It's dangerous. You said it yourself. That's why my mom kept me away from you. Your mother was right to keep you safe. But you're not a child anymore, Emily. You're an adult who can make your own choices.
If you want me in your life, I'm here. If you don't, I'll respect that. Emily thought about it, about the past 2 weeks, about Vincent appearing out of nowhere to save her, about his steady presence, his absolute competence, his willingness to upend his entire life to protect her. I want you in my life, she said, but I need honesty, complete honesty, no secrets, no protecting me from the truth. If we're going to have a relationship, it has to be built on trust. Vincent met her eyes. That's fair. What do you want to know? Everything. What you do, who you work for, what kind of danger you deal with. I need to know what I'm signing up for. Vincent set down his coffee. I run a private security firm that handles high-risk situations. Sometimes that means protecting executives who've received credible death threats. Sometimes it means recovering stolen assets in countries without functional legal systems. Sometimes it means extracting people from situations their governments won't acknowledge exist. You're a mercenary. I prefer problem solver, but yes, sometimes the problems involve violence. Have you killed people? Vincent didn't flinch. Yes. Emily's stomach twisted, but she forced herself to keep going. How many? Enough that I stopped counting. But only when there was no other option, only when it was them or the person I was protecting. And you sleep at night? Not as well as I'd like, but I sleep knowing that the people I've saved are alive because I did what needed to be done. Emily processed that. Her father was a man who killed for a living, who operated in shadows and gray areas, who solved problems with violence when necessary. It should terrify her. Instead, it made a strange kind of sense. My mom loved you, she said. Knowing what you were, she still loved you. For a while, yes. Why did she leave? Vincent's expression darkened. Because I took a job I shouldn't have, a job that involved hurting people who didn't deserve it. Sarah begged me not to take it. She said if I crossed that line, we were done. I didn't listen. I thought I knew better. He paused. I was wrong, and I lost the best thing in my life because of it. Do you regret it? Every single day. Emily finished her coffee. I need to think about all this. Process it. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Emily retreated to her room and closed the door. She sat on the bed, staring at the DNA test results still open on her phone. Vincent Hale, her father. A man who killed for a living but had dropped everything to protect her. A man her mother had loved and lost, had kept secret for 20 years, had still trusted enough to leave his number as a failsafe. Emily's entire worldview had shifted in the span of 2 weeks. She'd gone from alone and terrified to protected by a father she'd never known existed. Ryan Whitmore, who'd haunted her for months, was in jail facing serious charges. Her academic future was secure. For the first time since her mother died, Emily felt like she could breathe. But breathing room came with questions. What happened next? Did Vincent go back to his dangerous life while Emily finished school? Did they try to build some kind of relationship despite the miles and the danger and the years of absence? Emily didn't have answers, but she had time to find them. Her phone buzzed, a text from Vincent. Hungry? I'm ordering takeout. Emily smiled despite everything. Yeah, Chinese? Done. She emerged from her room. Vincent was on his laptop at the dining table, probably dealing with work he'd been neglecting while protecting her. He looked up when she entered. You okay? Getting there. It's a lot to process. I know, and I'm sorry you have to process it while dealing with everything else. Emily sat across from him. Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you have other kids? A family somewhere? No, no other children, no wife. My work doesn't leave room for that kind of life. Do you want it, that kind of life? Vincent considered the question. I used to think I didn't. Thought I was better off alone, that relationships were liabilities. But finding out about you, he trailed off. I don't know. Maybe I was wrong about what I wanted. What about now? What do you want now? Honestly, I want to get to know my daughter. I want to make sure you're safe and successful and happy. And I want to be part of your life, if you'll let me. Emily's throat tightened. I'd like that. Yeah? Yeah. Vincent's smile was cautious but genuine. Then we'll figure it out, one day at a time. The takeout arrived 20 minutes later. They ate together, talking about small things, Emily's classes, Vincent's work, memories of Sarah that they could finally share. It felt surreal and wonderful and terrifying all at once. After dinner, Emily's phone rang. Margaret Chen from Student Advocacy. Emily, I wanted to give you an update. Ryan Whitmore has been officially terminated from his position. The university is also conducting a full review of the Financial Services Office to identify any other instances of abuse or misconduct. That's good news? More than that, the board has decided to establish a new oversight committee for scholarship administration. They're taking this seriously. You started something important, Emily.
I didn't mean to start anything. I just wanted to stop being scared. Margaret's voice softened. Sometimes that's how change begins. One person saying enough. You did good. When Emily hung up, Vincent was watching her. Ryan's officially fired, she said. The university is overhauling their whole system. Good. Maybe the next student in your position won't have to go through what you did. Emily thought about the other girls Ryan had targeted over the years.
The complaints that had been buried, the voices that had been silenced. She hadn't meant to become a catalyst for change. She just wanted to survive. But maybe survival and change weren't so different. Maybe every time someone refused to stay silent, refused to accept abuse as normal, they shifted the ground beneath everyone's feet. I'm tired, Emily said. Get some rest. Tomorrow's a new day. Emily retreated to her room for the second time that night. She changed into pajamas, brushed her teeth, and climbed into bed. Her phone sat on the nightstand, the DNA results still saved in her email. Vincent Hale, her father. Emily turned off the light and closed her eyes. For the first time in months, she felt safe enough to actually sleep. Emily woke to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window and the distant sound of Vincent's voice in the living room. For a moment, she lay still, letting the peace of the morning settle over her. No threats, no fear, just quiet. She checked her phone. 8:17 a.m., Saturday. No classes, no obligations. Just a day to breathe. When she emerged from her room, Vincent was ending a phone call. He looked up and offered a small smile. Morning, coffee's fresh. Emily poured herself a cup and joined him at the table. Who was that? Detective Morrison. Ryan's bail hearing is Monday. They're confident he'll be denied bail given the trespassing incident and the pattern of escalating behavior. So he stays in jail? For now, yes. And when the trial happens, he's looking at significant time. The district attorney is pursuing multiple charges. Emily felt the last knot of tension in her chest begin to loosen. It's really over. The threat from Ryan is over. But Emily, we need to talk about what comes next. She set down her coffee. What do you mean? Vincent leaned back in his chair, studying her. I've been thinking about the future, about how this works. You're in school, building your life. I have work that takes me all over the country. We need to figure out how to maintain a relationship when geography and circumstances are working against us. Emily's stomach tightened. Are you leaving? Not immediately, but eventually, yes. I can't stay in Harrison indefinitely. I have commitments, contracts I need to fulfill. When? 2 weeks, maybe 3. I want to make sure Ryan's situation is fully resolved and you feel completely safe before I go. 2 weeks. It felt both like forever and not nearly enough time. Emily had just found her father, just started to understand what it meant to have family, and now he was planning to leave. What happens after you go? She asked quietly. We stay in touch, calls, texts, visits when we can manage them. You finish school. I keep doing what I do. And when you graduate, if you want, we can figure out something more permanent. Like what? Vincent's expression was careful. That depends on what you want your life to look like. If you want a normal career, a safe life, I support that. If you want to do something different, we can talk about that too. Different how? My firm could use someone with your intelligence and instincts, but that's a conversation for later. Right now, you focus on school. Emily processed that. Vincent was offering her a future, a choice, a place in his world if she wanted it. But he was also giving her space to build her own life, to decide who she wanted to be without pressure. I don't know what I want yet, she admitted. That's fine. You're 19. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. Emily's phone buzzed. A text from Margaret Chen. Can you come to my office Monday at 10 a.m.? There's something I want to discuss with you. Emily showed Vincent the message. Should I be worried? I doubt it. Margaret's been an ally. This is probably about the university's changes. I'll go. Will you come with me? If you want me there, yes. I do. They spent the rest of the weekend in careful domesticity. Vincent cooked meals while Emily studied. They watched movies in the evening, discovering they had similar taste in thrillers and crime dramas. They talked about Sarah, about the woman she'd been before Emily was born, and Emily learned things about her mother she'd never known. Sarah had wanted to be a journalist. She'd been fearless, chasing stories other people were too scared to touch. That's how she'd met Vincent, investigating a series of corporate crimes that had led her into dangerous territory. Vincent had been hired to protect her. They'd fallen in love somewhere between surveillance shifts and close calls. She made me want to be better, Vincent said Saturday night over dinner. She believed people could change, that past choices didn't have to define your future. I didn't believe her at the time. It took me years to realize she was right. Do you think she ever regretted keeping me a secret from you? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. I think she did what she thought was right. She knew my life was dangerous, knew the people I dealt with didn't have morals or boundaries. Keeping you away from that world was an act of love. But it also meant you never got to know me. Yes, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life, but I can't change it. All I can do is be here now. Monday morning arrived cold and clear. Emily dressed carefully for the meeting with Margaret Chen, choosing clothes that made her feel confident and capable. Vincent drove her to campus, and they walked together to the student advocacy office. Margaret was waiting in her office, a warm smile on her face when they entered. Emily, thank you for coming. And you must be Mr. Hale. Vincent, we spoke briefly during the investigation. Yes, I remember. Please, both of you, sit. They settled into the chairs across from Margaret's desk. Margaret pulled out a folder and opened it. Emily, I wanted to update you on the changes the university is implementing in response to the Ryan Whitmore situation. The board has approved a complete restructuring of the scholarship administration system. There will be multiple points of oversight, mandatory training on harassment and abuse of power, and a confidential reporting system that bypasses individual administrators. That's good, Emily said. Maybe it'll help the next person who ends up in a situation like mine. That's the goal. But there's something else. Margaret leaned forward. The board wants to offer you something. A formal apology, first of all, for the institutional failures that allowed Whitmore's behavior to continue unchecked, but also a full scholarship through graduation, including housing and a stipend for living expenses. They want to make sure you can focus on your education without financial stress. Emily's breath caught. A full scholarship? Yes. Tuition, room, board, books, and $1,500 a month for expenses. It's the university's way of acknowledging that they failed to protect you and trying to make amends. I already had a scholarship. This is different. This is guaranteed funding that can't be threatened or manipulated by any administrator. You'll have direct oversight from the dean's office. No one person will have the power Ryan had over you. Emily looked at Vincent. He was watching her with quiet pride. What do I need to do? Emily asked. Accept it. And if you're willing, we'd like you to serve on the new Scholarship Oversight Committee. Your perspective as a student who experienced the system's failures would be invaluable. Emily's mind raced. Financial security through graduation. A voice in reforming the system that had failed her. A chance to make sure other students didn't go through what she had. I'll do it, she said. Both. I accept the scholarship and I'll serve on the committee. Margaret smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. We meet monthly, and your input will help shape policies that affect thousands of students. Thank you, Emily. They left the office 20 minutes later, Emily's head spinning. Vincent guided her to a bench outside the building, and they sat. How do you feel? He asked. Overwhelmed, relieved, like maybe something good actually came out of all this. Something good did come out of it. You survived, you fought back, and now you're helping make sure other students have better protections than you did. That matters, Emily. I know. It's just hard to process. Vincent's phone buzzed. He checked it and his expression tightened. What's wrong? Ryan's bail hearing just concluded. He was denied bail. That's good news, isn't it? Yes, but the prosecutor's office just sent me something else. Vincent showed her his phone, an email with an attachment. Ryan tried to send you a letter from jail. The prosecutor flagged it as a potential violation of the no-contact order. They wanted my opinion on whether to file additional charges. Emily's stomach dropped. What does it say? I haven't read it. That's your choice. You can read it or I can delete it right now. Either way, Ryan goes back to court for violating the order. Emily thought about it. Part of her wanted to know what Ryan had to say, wanted to understand what drove him to destroy his career and risk prison over his need to control her. But another part of her was done giving Ryan Whitmore space in her head. Delete it, she said. I don't want to read anything he has to say. I'm done with him. Vincent deleted the email without hesitation. Good choice. They sat in silence for a moment, watching students cross the campus. Normal college life happening all around them, while Emily's world had been irrevocably changed. I should get to class, Emily said finally. I have psychology at noon. I'll drive you. Vincent, you don't need to chauffeur me around anymore. Ryan's in jail. The threats are over. Humor me for a few more days. Let me make sure everything's stable before I back off. Emily smiled despite herself. You're overprotective. I'm your father. It's in the job description. The word father still felt strange and wonderful every time one of them said it. Emily stood and they walked back to Vincent's car together. The next week passed in a strange kind of normalcy. Emily attended classes, studied for exams, and tried to rebuild the routine Ryan had shattered months ago. Vincent stayed close but gave her space, always available but not hovering. They fell into rhythms, coffee in the morning, debriefing over dinner, quiet evenings where they learned how to be family. On Thursday, Detective Morrison called with news. Ryan Whitmore had accepted a plea deal, 5 years in prison, followed by probation and mandatory registration as a sex offender. In exchange, the district attorney dropped the lesser charges, and Ryan waived his right to appeal. He'll serve at least 3 years before parole eligibility, Morrison told Emily over the phone, and there will be a permanent restraining order. He can't contact you, can't come within 500 feet of you, can't possess your personal information. If he violates any of those terms, he goes back to prison. 3 years, Emily repeated. That's all? I know it doesn't feel like enough, but it's a significant sentence and it permanently destroys his career. He'll never work in education or student services again, and the restraining order means he can't finish what he started. You're safe, Emily. When she hung up, Vincent was watching her from the kitchen. 3 years, she said. He gets 3 years for what he did. 3 years in prison will feel like an eternity to someone like Ryan. He's used to power, control, respect. He'll have none of that inside. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No, but knowing he can never hurt you or another student again should. The system failed you for months, Emily, but in the end, justice happened. Imperfect, incomplete, but real. Emily wanted to be satisfied with that, wanted to feel like justice had been served, but part of her would always wonder if 3 years was enough payment for the months of fear Ryan had inflicted, for the other students whose complaints had been buried, for the systematic abuse of power he'd gotten away with for so long. I'm going to testify, she said suddenly. When he goes to sentencing, I want the judge to hear what he did to me. Vincent nodded. I'll be there with you. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. In the meantime, Emily focused on finishing her semester strong. Her grades had held steady despite everything, testimony to her mother's insistence that education was non-negotiable, that knowledge was the one thing no one could take away. 2 weeks after the bail hearing, Vincent sat Emily down for a conversation she'd been dreading. I need to leave Harrison next week, he said. I've got a contract I can't delay any longer. Client's in trouble and I'm the only one who can handle it. Emily's chest tightened. How long will you be gone? 4 weeks, maybe 6. But I'll be back for the sentencing hearing. I promised I'd be there, and I will be. And after that? Vincent's expression was gentle. I'll visit as often as I can. Holidays, long weekends when my schedule allows. And we'll talk every day if you want. Calls, texts, video chats. You won't get rid of me that easily. What if I need you? What if something happens? Then you call me and I get on a plane. No matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, if you need me, I'm there. That's not changing just because I'm not physically in Harrison. Emily blinked back tears. I just found you. I'm not ready to lose you again. You're not losing me. I'm your father, Emily. That doesn't change with distance. I've missed 20 years of your life. I'm not missing any more. Promise? I promise. Vincent left the following Tuesday. Emily drove him to the airport, and they stood in the departures terminal trying to figure out how to say goodbye. You have everything you need? Vincent asked. The apartment's paid through the end of the semester. Marcus will check in once a week to make sure you're safe. And you have my number. Vincent, I'll be fine. I survived before you showed up. I can handle a few weeks. I know you can, but I'm allowed to worry. Father's prerogative. Emily hugged him hard. Vincent held her tight, and for a moment Emily felt like a kid who'd never had a father saying goodbye to hers for the first time. Be careful, she whispered. Whatever you're doing, be careful. Always am. You focus on school, ace those finals, make your mother proud. I will. Vincent pulled back, studied her face like he was memorizing it, then turned and walked through security. Emily watched until he disappeared around a corner, then drove back to the apartment alone. The next month passed in a blur of finals, papers, and study sessions. Emily threw herself into academics with renewed focus. She joined the Scholarship Oversight Committee and discovered she had strong opinions about institutional accountability and student protections. Margaret Chen became a mentor, guiding Emily through the complex politics of university administration. Vincent called every other day, usually late at night when his work permitted. He never talked about what he was doing, but Emily could hear the exhaustion in his voice, could sense the weight of whatever situation he was handling. She didn't ask questions, just listened when he wanted to talk and gave him updates on her life when he needed distraction. 3 days before the sentencing hearing, Vincent called with news. I'm wrapping up early. I'll be back in Harrison tomorrow night. Relief flooded through Emily. Really? Really? I told the client we were finishing ahead of schedule one way or another. I'm not missing your testimony. How'd they take that? They weren't thrilled, but they understood. Family comes first. Emily's eyes stung. Thank you. Nothing to thank me for. I'll see you tomorrow. Vincent arrived at the apartment at 9:37 p.m. the next evening. Emily opened the door and he stood there looking tired and worn, but whole. She hugged him hard. You look exhausted. I am, but I'm here. Now they stayed up late talking, Vincent dodging questions about his work, while Emily filled him in on everything he'd missed. The Oversight Committee's first meeting, her psychology final, which she'd aced, the letter from Sarah's former employer offering Emily an internship the following summer. Your mother would be so proud of you, Vincent said. Everything you've accomplished, everything you've survived. She'd be bursting. I wish she could see it. I think she can, wherever she is. The sentencing hearing was held on a gray Thursday morning in November. Emily wore a navy dress her mother had bought her for high school graduation and tried not to think about the fact that she was about to face Ryan Whitmore for the first time since his arrest. Vincent drove her to the courthouse. They met Detective Morrison and the prosecutor, a sharp woman named Linda Reeves who walked Emily through what to expect. The judge will hear from Ryan's attorney first, Reeves explained. They'll argue for leniency, talk about his record of service, claim rehabilitation. Then we present victim impact statements. That's you. You'll have 5 minutes to address the court. Say what you need to say. The judge will listen. Emily's hands shook. What if I freeze? Then you take a breath and start again. The judge knows this is hard. Just speak from the heart. They entered the courtroom. Ryan was already there, sitting at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, looking smaller and older than Emily remembered. When he saw her, something flickered across his face. Anger, maybe, or shame. Emily looked away. The hearing proceeded exactly as Reeves had described. Ryan's attorney painted him as a dedicated public servant who'd made mistakes under stress, who deserved mercy and a chance at redemption. It made Emily's stomach turn. Then it was her turn. Emily walked to the podium on shaking legs. Vincent sat in the front row, his presence an anchor. She looked at the judge, took a breath, and began. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 19 years old and I'm a freshman at Harrison State University. For 6 months, Ryan Whitmore made my life a living nightmare. Her voice shook at first but grew stronger as she continued. He used his power over my scholarship to control me. He cornered me in empty offices and made threats disguised as concern. He made me feel like I was nothing, like I had no voice, like no one would believe me if I spoke up. When I finally found the courage to report him, he tried to destroy my academic career with fabricated evidence. And when that didn't work, he tried to break into my residence to confront me directly. Emily's hands gripped the podium. I'm not the first student Ryan targeted. I know that now. There were others before me, women who tried to speak up and were silenced. Women who dropped out of school or transferred because staying meant continuing to face their abuser. The system failed them. The system failed me. And if Ryan Whitmore is given a lenient sentence, the message being sent is that abusing power over vulnerable students is acceptable as long as you've had a long career first. She looked at Ryan. He was staring at the table. I lost months of my life to fear because of this man. I lost sleep, lost weight, lost any sense of safety. I would have lost my education if not for someone stepping in to protect me. Ryan Whitmore used his position to prey on students who had no power to fight back. He deserves every year of the sentence he agreed to, and more. Because what he did wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern, and patterns don't change without consequences. Emily stepped back from the podium. The courtroom was silent. The judge made notes, expression unreadable. Ryan's attorney offered weak rebuttals. The judge listened, then delivered her ruling. Mr. Whitmore, I've reviewed the evidence in this case extensively. The pattern of behavior Ms. Carter described is well documented and disturbing. You abused your position of trust repeatedly over many years. While I'm bound by the terms of your plea agreement, I want to be clear. This court views your actions as serious violations of the public trust. You will serve 5 years in state prison with no possibility of early release. Upon release, you will be subject to lifetime registration and a permanent restraining order protecting Ms. Carter and all other identified victims. You are forbidden from working in education or any position involving authority over students or vulnerable populations. This court hopes that during your incarceration, you reflect deeply on the harm you've caused and the lives you've damaged. The gavel fell. Emily felt Vincent's hand on her shoulder. She turned and he pulled her into a hug while the bailiffs led Ryan away. She didn't cry, didn't feel relief or satisfaction or closure, just exhausted finality. It was done. Outside the courthouse, Reeves congratulated Emily. You did well in there. That testimony was powerful. Will it make a difference? It already has. You gave other survivors courage to come forward. 3 more women have filed civil suits against the university for their handling of Whitmore. Your voice started something important. Emily nodded, trying to process that. Vincent guided her to the car and they drove back to the apartment in silence. When they arrived, Emily finally spoke. I thought I'd feel better, more closure or something. Closure is overrated, Vincent said. Justice happened, but it doesn't erase what you went through. That takes time. How much time? However long you need, there's no schedule for healing. They went inside. Emily changed out of her dress and into comfortable clothes. Vincent ordered pizza and they ate on the couch, watching mindless television and not talking about the hearing. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying her testimony, Ryan's face, the judge's words. Around midnight, she gave up and went to the living room. Vincent was awake, working on his laptop at the dining table. Can't sleep? He asked. Too much in my head. Want to talk about it? Emily sat across from him. I keep thinking about my mom, about how she dealt with you leaving, with raising me alone, with everything she went through. She never complained, never let me see how hard it was. Sarah was strong, stronger than me in all the ways that mattered. Do you think she'd be proud of me? For testifying? For fighting back? Vincent closed his laptop and looked at her directly. I think she'd be incredibly proud. You survived something that breaks a lot of people. You didn't just survive it. You fought back and won. You changed an entire system. That takes courage, Sarah would recognize, because she had that same courage. I wish she was here. So do I. But Emily, she left you something better than her presence. She left you her strength, her refusal to accept injustice, her belief that fighting for what's right matters, even when the odds are terrible. You're her daughter in all the best ways. Emily's vision blurred. I have you too now. That counts for something. It counts for everything. They sat together in the quiet apartment, father and daughter, bound by love and loss and the choices that had led them to this moment. The semester ended with Emily maintaining her 3.7 GPA despite everything. She moved back into campus housing when the spring semester started, this time in a secure building with better protections. Vincent visited twice during those months, staying for long weekends where they explored Harrison together and continued building their relationship. By March, Emily had joined a support group for survivors of harassment and discovered she had a talent for helping others find their voices. By April, she'd decided to change her major to social work with a focus on institutional advocacy. By May, she was planning summer internships that would let her work directly with vulnerable populations. Vincent attended her freshman year end-of-year celebration, standing in the back of the campus ceremony while the dean's list was announced and Emily's name was called. Afterward, they went to dinner at a small restaurant off campus. "Your mother would have loved this," Vincent said.
Seeing you thrive. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. Emily smiled. So what happens now? Summer's coming. You mentioned an internship possibility? 2, actually. One's local, working with Margaret Chen's office on the scholarship reforms. The other's in Seattle, working for a nonprofit that helps students navigate financial aid systems. Both would be valuable experience.
"Which one do you think I should choose?" "Whichever one feels right. But Emily, I want you to know something. Whatever you choose, wherever you go, I'll support it. Your life is yours to build. I'm just grateful I get to be part of it." Emily reached across the table and took his hand. "Thank you for everything. For showing up when I needed you. For staying. For being the father I didn't know I needed." Vincent's eyes were bright. "Thank you for giving me the chance. For not shutting me out when you learned what I do, who I am. You could have. But you didn't. You're my dad. That doesn't change just because your job is complicated." They finished dinner talking about the future, about possibilities and plans, and all the time they'd have to figure things out together. When Vincent dropped Emily at her dorm that night, she hugged him hard. "Be safe out there, whatever you're doing next." "Always, and Emily, I love you." I should have said that before, but I'm saying it now. I love you. Emily's throat tightened. "I love you too, Dad." She watched him drive away, then went inside and called the number she'd saved under a star all those weeks ago when her world was falling apart. Vincent answered on the first ring. "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect. I just wanted to hear your voice again before I go to sleep." "I'm always here, anytime you need me." "I know. That makes all the difference." They talked for another hour about nothing important, just father and daughter sharing space across phone lines, building a relationship one conversation at a time. When Emily finally hung up and got ready for bed, she pulled out the photo of her mother and studied Sarah's smiling face. "You knew," Emily whispered. "You knew exactly what you were doing when you saved that number, just in case I ever needed him, just in case everything fell apart and I had nowhere to turn. You gave me a lifeline disguised as a star, and it saved my life." Her mother's smile seemed to agree. Emily set the photo on her nightstand, turned off the light, and fell asleep thinking about the future. College stretched ahead of her, full of possibility. A career helping others navigate the systems that had tried to break her. A father who'd crossed distance and danger to protect her. A mother's legacy living on in every choice Emily made to fight for what was right. She'd started this journey alone and terrified, sending a desperate text to a stranger saved under a star. She'd survived threats and accusations in a system designed to silence her. She'd found family she never knew existed and discovered strength she hadn't known she possessed. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be hard days and painful memories and moments when the weight of everything threatened to crush her. But Emily Carter had learned something crucial in the past months. She was stronger than any threat thrown at her. She had her mother's courage and her father's determination, and together they made her unstoppable. Somewhere across town, Vincent Hale sat in a hotel room reviewing files for his next assignment, his phone within reach in case his daughter needed him. He'd spent 20 years wondering what his life would have been like if he'd made different choices. Now he knew. Now he had a daughter who'd given him a second chance at being the man Sarah had believed he could become. The text from Emily came through at 11:47 p.m. "Good night, Dad. Thank you for everything." Vincent typed back, "Good night, Emily. Sweet dreams. I'll call you tomorrow." He set the phone down and allowed himself a rare smile. His life was still dangerous, still complicated, still built on shadows and gray areas, but now it had purpose beyond survival. Now it had family. Sarah Carter had saved his number under a star because she'd known that someday her daughter might need someone who could handle the kind of trouble most people couldn't. She'd trusted Vincent to be there when it mattered, despite their history, despite the years and the distance and the choices that had driven them apart. And he had been. And he would be. For as long as Emily needed him, the story that had started with a desperate text to the wrong number ended with a father and daughter building something that felt remarkably like home. Emily graduated 4 years later with honors, Vincent sitting in the front row watching with pride as his daughter walked across the stage. She went on to work for a national advocacy organization, helping students navigate abusive systems and fight back against institutional failures. Vincent continued his work, but carved out time for the daughter who'd become the center of his world. They spent holidays together, took trips to places Sarah had always wanted to visit, and built a relationship that honored the woman who'd brought them together across 20 years of silence. And on quiet nights when Emily couldn't sleep, she'd pull out her phone and look at the contacts saved under a star, the number that had changed everything. She'd remember her mother's wisdom in keeping it, in trusting that Vincent would be there if Emily ever needed him, just in case. Those 3 words had saved Emily's life and given her back the family she'd thought was lost forever. They'd turned a wrong number into the right person at exactly the right time. And that, Emily thought, was the greatest gift her mother could have given her. The knowledge that even in the darkest moments, even when you feel completely alone, sometimes help is just a text away. Sometimes the stars align. Sometimes a desperate message finds exactly the right person. Sometimes a number saved just in case becomes the answer to prayers you didn't know how to voice. Emily Carter had learned that lesson the hard way, but she'd learned it well. And she'd spend the rest of her life making sure other people learned it too, that silence protects predators, that speaking up saves lives, and that family isn't always the people you're born to. Sometimes it's the people who show up when you need them most and refuse to walk away. Vincent Hale had shown up, and he'd stayed. That made all the difference.